Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. We're going to do our daily technical analysis update today. We're going to work our way through dollar yields, precious metals, and commodities and ETFs that I follow. And if you need any help with anything, check out finding-value.com. You can join our community, and we've got a platinum question and answer session coming on Sunday at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can join that. It's a Zoom meeting. You can ask me questions. We can even ask anyone who shows up questions as well. So let's dive in. I'll give you my financial opinions here, and we're going to take a look and see what the markets are doing. So today we've got a slightly stronger dollar. Momentum is still to the downside. So what I would expect is the dollar could continue lower. Now on yields, remember, yields are what drive movements of the dollar mainly. The US 2-year still sticking in there. We have the wicks at the top. This is definitely, hey, I'm looking for a downward move. Today, it's a little higher today. We still have a little wick at the top. Are there buyers still left in this? Or I should say, are there sellers in bonds still selling off where yields go on up? That looks to be the case today, but we'll see if this thing turns and heads lower, basically mimicking what the dollar is doing, the DXY, dollar index. We also saw strength in the 10-year yield, but again, this still looks good to go lower in the 10-year based off of the candlesticks and the way that they look. And then the 30-year yield also, I do think we could potentially go a little bit lower. But again, we've broken out of this pattern to the upside. We are seeing a mixed movements in yields, and it's tough to know exactly where this is going to go in the short term here. It always is. But bigger picture view, yields still can go higher. On the short term view, we could go lower on yields if it follows the dollar. So we're really getting a mixed signal on yields. And again, yields price assets. So assets are going to be volatile. They're going to be moving all over the place because I don't think there's a clear direction on which way yields are necessarily going to go in the short term. TYX, TNX, the way that I would view this is that we still have the possibility of this moving higher, which means the short end of the curve could potentially go lower with that DXY. That is signaling here that the TYX, TNX ratio could go up with this bullish engulfing right there. It's generally a reversal candlestick to move higher. So that's what this one is showing. If you were to look at the yields that we just did, they did break out, at least the 30-year yield, to the upside. Doesn't mean it can't come back down like this one did. But generally speaking, they generally work their way higher. So again, we've got kind of these mixed readings out in the market. We've got the inverted yield curve that inverted more here. We've got a bullish engulfing, which means we could reverse and move on up, which means the yield curves could fall, pushing precious metals to the upside. And potentially the overall markets could go up too. TLT, the bond prices, it's still just hanging out below this resistance line. We're still just hanging out. We don't have a clear direction. Are we going to break down, meaning that yields go higher, or is this going to break higher, meaning that yields will fall? We're kind of at a decision point. We'll see which way we break. Why this is important is because yields price assets. That is why it's important. But we're kind of at this point where I don't know if yields know exactly where they want to go. Gold also doesn't know where it's going, so it's just sitting here bouncing above support. But we're above support. Generally speaking, when you're above, it wants to break to the upside. If that is the case, we should see yields fall. We should see a yield curve that kind of normalizes and falls a little bit. It uninverts. So that's gold there. Silver doing very well. Still looking good, still above support to move higher. You can say that we broke through this little guy there to the upside. So that looks good for silver. Platinum down a little bit, looking like it's trying to find some sort of base or something like that. It's still kind of meandering around. XAU to gold ratio, still looks good to go higher, where the gold and silver mining companies could outperform gold. I'm using this as the base there, so big surge higher, and then we haven't really sold off much. We're just kind of consolidating where we generally work our way higher. CRB index, another strong move to the upside. Surprising how strong these moves have been and how quick they've just ripped it here. So good momentum in the CRB index. So let's hope that can continue higher. It's actually looking quite good. CRB to S&P 500 starting to move higher. That's also a positive signal. Are we at the bottom of wave 2? I'm not going to make that claim yet. Let's see where we go over the next few weeks to get a much clearer picture. GDX up 1.26%. Looks like some people are front running the moves in gold, perhaps. Big surge higher here, not much selling pressure. That generally works its way to the upside. GDX doing the same thing, and SILJ also very similar. Not a bad spot to be looking in these ETFs. Crude oil up 1.5%. It's had a rough start to the day, but it finished strong. Looks like it can continue higher, and I think crude oil doesn't look too bad. A lot of the companies don't look too bad. I'd like to see a little bit more follow through with XOP and some of these ETFs, but crude oil's hanging in there. It's right above support and still hanging on. Still looks good. Natural gas up 3.4%. It's looking a lot better here. We can throw in some trend lines. Looks like we're trying to break through this. We can kind of see. You can kind of see kind of like a roundish bottom type move coming. Maybe we get a move to the upside in natural gas here. It looks quite strong. Good momentum. I'm in the companies. I'm kind of just sitting, waiting for this to take off. XOP, yeah, you know me. Broken down trend line, still looks good to go higher. There's not much selling pressure here. If we saw a bunch of selling pressure, we'd see it pop down lower with some force. It looks like we're hanging out here then, and it's open for the buyers to lift this stock higher, or this ETF. OIH down a little bit, but it still looks good to go higher. Lots of green, big green candlesticks, small red candlesticks. Basically, it's just little consolidation periods that's occurring. So it still looks good. I think the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust looks good. You can see that we're just kind of drifting here before we make another, probably a large surge higher in the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust when we finally break through that 1815 long-term level here. And that's what we want to break. We want to put a big, huge green candlestick, break right through that bad boy. URNM still holding on. Not a ton of selling pressure. I mean, we can drift around here. Yeah, we can drift around, but it still looks good. Not a ton of selling pressure. We're not just ripping it to the downside. URNJ also holding in there, up 1%. So everything looks good. Now we're just got to be patient and wait. Let the market do its thing. TAN putting in the bloody nose. That still looks to me like it could go higher in the short term. I like the way that this is kind of moving. Big green candlesticks here, small down candlesticks. That looks pretty good for a move on up. COPX, this thing's just been bouncing sideways, guys. And maybe we have more sideways. Maybe we rip through it. Generally speaking, on a big picture view, this is a double bottom. And you want to buy in this general vicinity right where it's at, where you're above support. That's that guy there. And we're doing a retest. So that's generally a really good spot to buy. It's right where we're at for a big long-term new uptrend type move. Lithium, still holding in there. It is above its breakout trend line, and we are starting to move higher. And it looks like that trend is still in place or intact. REMX also broke its downtrend line, and I do think we will work our way higher over time. We're going to grind on up. The S&P 500 getting a little bit of selling pressure up here. Is that a reversal candlestick? It could be. We gapped up higher today, and the momentum is coming back down. So we'll see how much momentum it has and how forceful it is, the selling pressure over the next day or two. NASDAQ's got the same thing. How forceful is this selling pressure going to be? If we come out and just rip a big fat down candlestick, that's going to be bearish. We have to wait for that to occur. Emerging markets, A little bit of selling pressure today. I think we had an increasing dollar today, a little bit higher dollar, but still looks good for a move to the upside. Remember, interest rates. Interest rates don't know exactly where they're going to go, so it's going to put some volatility in a lot of these stocks because they're all just derivatives of the interest rate. XHB, home builders. Home builders have broken this pattern to the upside, and we'll see if we can get a little bit of rippy to the upside here. And again, a lot of the times it doesn't go straight up. It'll cycle back down, cycle back up, and kind of move in waves. It's the way the markets work. Moo moving up 0.25%. Still looks good to move on higher. There it is on the bigger picture view. Copper is at support and still looks good to go higher over time. Why do I say that? Big green candlesticks, not much selling pressure, all in that circle there. That is a trend of an uptrend. Downtrends have big selling pressure candlesticks and small green candlesticks. Iron ore still looking good to rip it to the upside. I think it looks fantastic. Looks really good. I think nickel looks good. Looks like we're finally getting some support. Looks like we're going to try to move on up. Aluminum also looking good. So the base metals looking better. Yeah, a little wick at the top there. But aluminum overall, I think will look good in 2024. That's when the deficits become more apparent than what they are today. Baltic Dry Index up a little bit. Baltic Dry Index, remember, kind of mimics whatever oil does. So I do think we will go up at some point because it looks very good. Fallen wedge, broken out, false breakout, slingshot higher, higher low, and then we got to break that for a higher high in the new uptrend if it does that. Newcastle coal futures, we are down a little bit. We're just basing out. Give it some time. It'll base out around this general location. Be a good time to be looking at companies. Ethereum up 2.25%, right on support, bouncing off that support, just like Bitcoin is bouncing off that support to the upside. We'll see how sustaining that bounce is. If it's sustaining, we'll just rock it on up. If it is not sustaining, we are going to roll over. We do have an inverted head and shoulders. We've broken that. We've done a retest, and now we want to see this thing, if it's got any legs for a launch to the upside. But that's what we've got for today, guys. That's kind of the daily technical analysis stuff. I just look at it for entry points and try my best to acquire cheap assets. But right now, we've got yields going back and forth. Bigger, longer term, if Powell wants to slow down the housing market, he's got to hold yields higher. He's got to hold them up there. That's not good for interest payments. So we'll see what happens in the markets here. Are we going to get huge deficit spending to pay the interest payments on the debt? Are we going to lower interest rates to afford the debt through quantitative easing, which is inflationary? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what everyone decides. I know that a lot of these sectors are undervalued. Flat out, that's a fact. And they are moving in a positive direction for that valuation to gain in valuation against other assets. And that's what we want to see. That's where my money's parked. And I'm just kind of waiting, watching, and seeing how the markets are reacting. But that's what I've got for today. Give me a thumb up, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website if you'd like. We do have a 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time question and answer session on Sunday. All right, guys, we'll catch you guys later. That's all I've got for today. This is Finding Value.